All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. We are so glad that you are tuning in for another episode of Anything Goes.
Welcome. Happy Friday.
It is Friday, yes.
As people pop on and see that we're live, then the swarms of people come and flock. Watch what has been a staple of the of people's weekly life and things that they're looking forward to see. It's Shabbat, anything goes with Sharon and Eric.
Hi, Jay. Welcome back. Jay O'Hadif, you maybe should win like an award of the most frequent viewer of Anything Goes. Thank you so much for your support, Jay.
Maybe we'll also do. Maybe we'll do a short interview for Jay. Jay, find out what's.
Yeah.
During this time.
Anyone else is just coming on, feel free to say hello in the comments so that we can greet you.
Another Friday is upon us, Sharon.
It is almost the end of October.
And how did that happen, right? Weren't we just saying almost the end of September and
yeah,
the high holiday? Now the high holidays are past and everything, maybe it's because everything is kicked into gear that everything is just a blur, right? The week has gone by. We've had some amazing programs that we've done and some fun things here at the temple. And we keep planning more and more.
Mm-hmm.
Those kind of things. And then it's just, the week is gone. Before we know it, we're upon Shabbat, and at least we know this is a great way to end our week and get ready for the Shabbat weekend. So
yeah.
How was your week?
My week has been good. What did I do this week? That's always the question, right? I don't know what to do this week. It felt like a productive week for the temple. Got a lot of things done. So I'm excited about a lot of things we've got planned for the coming weeks. We had a really wonderful discussion last night of our JJL movie selection, Unstrung Heroes. It was a great conversation about a very poignant movie. So if people haven't seen that movie, Unstrung Heroes, I encourage you to watch it. It was a film that came out in the 90s. It stars Andy McDowell and John Turturro. What's his name? Michael Richards, the man who played Kramer, right? Is that his name, I think? Yep. He was in the movie too. And just a really sweet story about a quirky family dealing with some emotional turmoil. It stars also a young boy, like maybe 10, 11 years old. Just delightful. So I'd recommend the movie. And last night's discussion was facilitated by a congregant named Lindsay Sterling, who was just so bright and was able to bring her experience as a psychologist to the discussion.
Nice. So it was get a good turnout for the movie.
Yeah, not too bad. I know we had the debate on. We were kind of going up against the end of the debate, so right. I think we had enough of the debate, and they said, "I'll just go join the JJL movie."
Yeah, I think that's always the challenge right now. Is we try to plan great things, and then right now, whether it's a debate or a World Series game or an NBA championship game, people have.
Yeah. I will say that in our defense, we had these things planned way before the Dodgers got into the World Series, or way before the candidates scheduled any debates. Temple Israel was ahead of any of that.
And I try to be in touch with their PR people and let them know that they seem to think that what they're doing is more important to take precedent.
Right, we are taking away viewership from the Dodgers. But the good thing is that Anything Goes will be over by the time the Dodgers game starts tonight. I can't say the same thing for Shabbat services, but anything goes, it's all good. Eric, this week we also had our B'nai Mitzvah orientation, which was a really significant thing for our 7th grade families, and we were able to share with them some of the current plans and thinking about B'nai Mitzvah, and it's just great to see our 7th grade families together and to be able to formally introduce them to Rabbi Fox.
Yeah, and for those out there watching, we have a big group of current 7th grade families and families planning such an important milestone in their kids' lives, and having to think about it in a different way, as whether they're going to be doing it online, and we're actually looking to do life cycle events for small groups, for small family groups in person. But it's definitely not what people envisioned, a year ago, as they were starting to plan for bar and bat mitzvahs for their children. So
right. Yeah, I feel so proud of our families, though, who have really said, yes, we acknowledge that it's different and there is a certain degree of loss to the difference, but they're still moving forward. And I just think it's a beautiful way of confirming our commitment to tradition and saying, this is our obligation. This is our obligation and our joy to keep marking these life cycle moments, despite the circumstances.
And actually, in some ways, from sort of a distant perspective, as it almost allows people to get back to what really the ceremony is about. Mm-hmm. I know it's so easy to get caught up in not necessarily competition between families, but just you want to make an exciting party, and you want to make a big event, and have that as sort of the thrill of the bar bat mitzvah. Right. But this really allows families to focus on the ceremony, and there's always time. There's going to be time for a party. There'll be time for that element to add back. But don't miss this along the way. Important milestone that it shouldn't wait. Don't let it wait for being able to do a large party.
I agree. Yeah. So, shout out to all of our 7th grade families that are taking those necessary steps forward.
Before we were talking about being up against World Series and what happened. Now we all hope that the the World Series doesn't go to a Game 7, but if it does, we are going to be competing. Well, the Dodgers again will have to compete with us
Right.
for Temple Israel Reads One Book.
Yeah.
So Sharon, tell us a little bit more about it.
Next Wednesday, we will be welcoming via Zoom Mark Sarvis, who's the author of Memento Park, which was our Temple Israel Reads One Book selection last year. And the author was supposed to come to Temple Israel last May, I think it was, April or May. But we postponed that program because of the pandemic, of course, and we are looking forward to having him with us via Zoom. So if you have already read the book, please join us next Wednesday at 7 p.m. And if you haven't read it, it's still a great opportunity to interact with an author and hear a little bit about his process and what brings meaning to him as a writer.
At JJL program, we have a panel discussion this weekend where we partnered with Sharsheret and talking about hereditary diseases that are common in the Jewish community that many families have to consider. So that's an exciting program that's coming up. Our sisterhood has planned a discussion. They're bringing in a very qualified speaker who's a nurse and a LCSW and has a whole list of credentials. Going to be, I think, a nutritionist as well, who's going to be talking about medical marijuana and the use of that. So that should be an interesting discussion, and that's going to be Tuesday evening. So we definitely throwing a lot of different things at people to something. It's where they say sort of a fishing reference, like you throw a line out in the water and hopefully something will attract you and it's something you want to bite on.
Yes.
And then actually next Friday we're doing something new with our tableside Shabbat.
Yeah, that should be really fun. Eric and I have been working with Rabbi Fox and Cantor Haas on this new program, and we'll be sending out more information about it early next week. But as Eric said, it's called Tableside Shabbat. and it's going to be a Shabbat experience for families or individuals at their Shabbat dinner tables. So we'll be talking about Shabbat dinner traditions around the blessings and songs and study. So I'm excited about it. And my family will be around the table with all of your families around your tables.
So for those of you out there who, or if you know people out there who are looking for more of a traditional service, we're going to offer that before. It's going to be, I believe, at 5:15, and then at 6 o'clock we're going to start this tableside Shabbat, where hopefully some of you out there will be able to bring your laptop or iPad or what have you to the Shabbat table, and we'll be joining each other around that to celebrate Shabbat together. It should be a fun and different and new experience that we're trying to give to the community, and see. Hopefully, it's going to be. I'm looking forward to it. Should be something.
Yeah, I'll have to make sure my challah is extra beautiful. This week, I'm trying something new. Right now, my dough is rising, so I'll have to tell you how it turns out. But because it's Parshat Noach, I am making a challah tonight that's going to be rainbow colored. So we'll see.
You had made a rainbow one before. Did someone else make a rainbow? No, it was. Did the cantor make a rainbow one before? I'm trying to think.
She did. I think the cantor did. Actually, on our first Anything Goes, I think she was making a colorful challah. Yeah.
Sorry, I do remember that. And for those of you out there, you should know that Sharon quite often says how much she gives up for the show, because she's always concerned during the show about the rising of her dough and how her challah is going to turn out. But she sacrifices.
Oh yes, it's very difficult. Well, now I'm actually sitting in my kitchen today, so my challah, I can see the bowl, but it's covered with a towel, so I don't know. At least I can watch it. Yeah.
Thank you, Sharon, for for figuring out a way to do both. And
I tell you, it's a balancing act. Eric, we've got Bobby Horowitz here, and Karen Adler, Ruth Cooperman, our friend Juan Lopez. So welcome to everybody. Glad you're here.
Juan, we were just talking about Sharon and I said, I don't think Juan was on the last couple of weeks. So glad to have you back. And we have a great guest today.
Yes.
So should we bring him in?
Yeah, I'm excited. Who doesn't love Bill Shafton? I mean, let's bring him on. All right.
Glad to have you back. Here he is. And we have a great guest today.
Yes.
So, all right, Bill.
Excited.
Greetings. How are y'all?
It's just what we talked about before. It's okay. We were hearing ourselves, so it's okay.
I will do my best to remedy that, and I apologize there. I'm
excellent. Much better. Welcome, everybody. Yay, Bill Shafton.
Welcome to the show, Bill. Bill, that's a really cool space you're in. Is that like, where are you?
So this is my my home office, my recording studio. For my purposes, my sanctuary. It's almost like an incubator in many real respects. So it's post COVID, it's become all of that. Before that, it was just my home office and recording studio. Yeah.
Nice. Does anyone in the family ever enter into that sanctuary, or it's just yours?
They come in. It's Christina and I like to chat, and she pulls up a chair and we sit and talk a little bit. But at this point, Maya's very busy, so she doesn't come in too often.
There's not a cutout in the door where they slide through your food and.
No, they deign to enter the.
Well, for those people at home who we're gonna start having a conversation, we'll want to know more about you. I'm gonna give a little bit of an intro of who you are and what you do, and then we'll get going in our conversation. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right. So for those of you out there, when he's not working as the head of a legal head of legal for the largest LGBTQ social media app in the world, trying to keep up with Christina's purposeful passion or basking in the glow of Nicole, Noah, and Maya's awesomeness. Bill Shafton's mission is to continue the thousands-year-old tradition of reimagining the prayer and sacred music of the Jewish people. Prior to law school, Bill was a songwriter, a music producer, and studio musician, and brings those skills to bear to write some of TILB's newest Shabbat service offerings. And inspired by the talent and heart of our community, Bill created Kol HaShabbat as a 5-cycle lay-led musical experience that invokes the essence of Shabbat. It's illuminated by each of the 5 books of Moses. In addition, Kenner Haas and Bill co-created Shabbat HaNefesh, which is a contemplative, creative musical Shabbat service. On the second Friday of each month, we're going to be getting back into those Shabbat HaNefeshes as well. I think Rabbi Fox will be joining you as well. And most recently, Bill hosts our Thursday morning Minyan, a musical, meditative, half-hour exploration of morning tefillah using original music, recordings, and offerings from over 12 and a growing number of our community members. Welcome, Bill.
Woohoo! We need like a applause track.
Okay, so we'll add to our budget. I'll have a sound machine. There we go. Or we'll just have Bill there at every show.
That's it.
There we go.
I'll be your Kevin Eubanks anytime.
Although I think it'd be probably set myself up for too many rim shots. So. How you doing, Bill?
Hi, it's great to connect with you, and all of those things that you mentioned have been supported like tremendously by the Temple Israel community. It is my great honor to be able to contribute whatever gifts I have to reflect the joy and the beauty and the camaraderie and the Torah and the purpose of this community in all of its diversity, and be a part of this community in Long Beach as well. As it's pretty sweet. So thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Of course.
You know, we've all like I said, you now you have a studio at home, which was more than just your home office. We're all sort of adapting to this pandemic. You know, and you've had in the last 6 months, there's been some family transition with Noah, moving across the country, and so how's it going? How's it going in your household?
Notwithstanding the fact that we're in a global pandemic and people are sick and dying, and we're as a people challenged beyond measure. This time in particular has been particularly blessed in a way that certainly leading up to this, my son's senior year, who I know you had the chance to be with in a previous session here, and so I'm honored to follow in his footsteps. So like for us as a senior to have that kind of time with a high school senior is outrageous, right? He would have been a very busy dude, out in the world, enjoying his senior year, and we got to just spend so much special time as a family. Nicole is living with us, which has been an absolute blessing and joy. So and now Maya is the last in the in the high school, and she's navigating the sort of Los Alamitos couple days in, couple days out hybrid. So it's been through all of that, through all the challenges and the daunting nature. It's been really nice to just be together. I worked up in West Hollywood, so not to have to drive back and forth was quite a blessing for me in particular. So that's kind of saved a little bit of wear and tear. And in this realm, it seems like it's going to be that way for a while. So it's nice to be in this space that that's just fostered all of the to be able to walk 20 steps to lunch with the family is nice.
Yeah, you must feel like the extra time without the commute. I mean, what a special gift of time itself, right?
Yeah, no doubt. no doubt.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that there is sort of it's a mixed bag, right? Of feeling the personal I don't know, the angst about not being able to go out places and not to go out without a mask and what have you. But at the same time, as families, I agree. And as far as our own personal time, I know I do things at different times than I would have, where I may get some things done very early in the morning, handle some email that I wouldn't have done until later, and then have a different break later on in the afternoon. And so the schedule changes, and there's more time with the kids and actually working with them on their schoolwork, when they have, and my kids are also dealing with that hybrid odd schedule of in for a few hours and at home for certain days and things like that. So it's a really strange mixed kind of combination of blessing and being appreciative of the things that we can be appreciative for.
Yeah, indeed.
And with your work, tell us, so you're not going into the office. How has it affected? And tell us more. What does it mean being the head
legal?
Head of
lead legal for the largest LGBTQ social media app in the world.
Right. So my title is Vice President of Business and Legal Affairs for Grindr. Grindr is a platform that allows over 4.5 million people, gay, bi, trans, and queer people, connect and thrive. It basically provides an interface that allows you to connect to a community and connect with people in your general geolocation, right? Mm-hmm. So particularly for a community that even before COVID, the Grindr has been essentially a lifeline for members of the gay, bi, trans, queer community who want to interact with others and don't necessarily have the number of gay bars that Long Beach has, or allows you to connect with people very close, within thousands of feet or miles, so that it fosters new connections. And so, as the head of legal for Grindr, I cover just a wide range of areas to support that enterprise. Yeah.
So how long has Grindr been around?
10 years. So in the app realm, it's a daddy. Coming up on 11, is that right? So we celebrated our 10th year. I'm blanking on the exact. I think it's March, but nonetheless, yeah. So it's been around a while. It was the first app to utilize the geolocation feature. The founder, Joel Simkai, saw that Apple was starting to make user locations available to platforms, and he had the idea that like if I create a platform specifically for gay men to connect, then it'll help him individually expand his horizons, as it were, and then allow others to do the same. So it's a pretty sweet, and it's always had, for me and for many, many, many others, like a purposeful element that we are helping facilitate and support an underserved community, and to facilitate those connections. And with the success that we've had, we've been able to foster and develop some really life-saving technology. We've contributed to platforms that, for example, we supported the first in India, in the country of India, we funded the first ever online resource that would allow users to identify where the nearest STD testing location was, right? So, that resource was just not available. So, like, to be able to take this success and extend it into the community, and it creates a beautiful synergy and something that we're all sort of very proud to continue and be a part of.
And now with COVID and with restaurants and bars being closed, and have they found that the actual use of the app has sort of as people are being more isolated, are they looking for more ways to connect? And is that
Yeah, I mean, I don't have metrics in front of me, but I'll just say generally, the the apps like ours and other social networks, as you know, like even we think of ourselves mostly as a social media platform in a sense, a way to connect people. So, right, how much more are we using those ways to interact and connect with people, and to facilitate that, and to the extent that people are comfortable meeting up, that's an individual choice. We have a lot of messaging around self care that really sort of reminds users to do what they need to do to protect themselves. So it's an ever evolving landscape, and an extremely exciting one. So it keeps me up at night sometimes, but it's all good.
Billy, we know that you weren't always a lawyer. I remember when you were in law school. Tell us a little bit about what that transition was like for you, to go back to school and then to pick a new career.
So I grew up thinking I was going to be a lawyer, kind of inundated. My family is just rich with lawyers. My dad was a lawyer, my sister was a lawyer, my uncle, my grandfather, my cousins, etc. So it kind of was always the family business that I thought about. In high school, I had a really early opportunity to be a part of a bankruptcy boutique that handled litigation on sort of a high volume basis. So we had like networks and printers that were designed for that. So I had that experience, and then kind of parlayed that. Graduated from college, was doing a combination of sort of paralegal slash software database design on one side of the realm, and on the other was doing this sort of music. I had a recording studio and was doing producing of other artists and doing a lot of like creative projects there, and then ultimately decided to get. There was a change in the law that was going to make the company that I worked for over 10 years. It was going to impact the profitability. So I thought, well, maybe it's time that I go get letters after my name. Noah was already born, and so in my elder years, I went to law school, and so I'm a 2009 graduate of law school. I started that in 2006 and graduated 2009. Started at a big law firm for a good number of years, and then transitioned to Grindr. January 2017. I was looking out the office of my firm. I was at Winston and Strawn, looking over downtown LA, and Trump had just gotten elected, and I kind of thought to myself, it's time for me to get to work somehow. And then I didn't know exactly what that meant at the time. In January, I got head up by a recruiter that said, would you be interested in heading legal for Grindr? And I said yes, and was actually at Trump's inauguration at Grindr headquarters interviewing for that job, and then started just a few days later. So it's been a wild journey for sure.
That's it. So interesting reference to you starting at Grindr with Trump's inauguration, and sort of that being some sort of catalyst in your mind. What has this sort of meant in terms of where you've? Can you help define that? What does that mean? So in terms of
little did I know that when I started, a Chinese company had bought a significant portion of Grindr, and then they closed a second transaction in 2018. This is all reported publicly, so I'm not sharing confidential information. just saying. According to reports. 2018, we were 100% owned by a Chinese gaming tycoon, and bringing in a lot of synergies there. And we're really sort of looking forward. And then, the Committee for Foreign Investment in the United States, CFIUS, took an eye towards Grindr and identified what they thought of were as national security interests in play, given the data that we process and are fiduciaries over. That the connection with the Trump administration in that respect was rather real ultimately. and I got to go to DC a couple times, and it was an honor just for, my less than 15 minutes to help serve the interests of the United States in my, sort of slightly, honorable. I was a security officer to support those efforts. And I got to work with some really dedicated, both civil servants and former military members who have really dedicated their careers for the best interest of our company. And so, for whatever happens in this election, my prayer is that we return to that place of ultimate pride, and conviction that that the American spirit is strong and maintains and expands its leadership presence both domestically and internationally.
Very nice.
Knock on at least this world.
Well, Bill, in your bio, we learned a little bit about your musical background. Definitely different than a legal interest. So I just think it's so great that you're able to really balance both of those passions. Tell us a little bit about what got you into music, and then we can talk about some of the current things you're doing. But I'd love to hear a little bit about what's inspired you to, take this interest and develop these beautiful skills.
Thank you.
And have you always been musical? Has it been something from childhood that sort of carried on as well? So.
Yeah, so my dad was a musician, so I remember sitting at the piano with him, and like he would play a little melody and I'd kind of try and pick it out myself. So I heard him playing a lot, from, probably before I can remember. In fact, like just throughout my life. He ended up getting sick and dying before I was around 20. And that journey of that music connection was also in that arc. My grandfather, my mom's dad, Rabbi Bernard Ziegler, was a rabbi in Riverside and also at University of Michigan for Hillel, if I recall correctly. My connection with him, even though when he passed away when I was about 10, was incredibly strong and remains incredibly strong for me. Like I had a thought at some point in my life of becoming a rabbi, and like just that connection to the tradition, like that, just as I think about it, Judaism for me provides this sort of infinite opportunity to engage and learn and grow and expand and come to sense with, or lose our senses with the world and ourselves and our community, etc. So and yet I grew up in the San Fernando Valley, where I didn't necessarily feel like, I think in some part of me, like I would have loved to have grown up in like a Chabad environment where it's like that just would have helped in some ways nurture that. So I kind of had this quiet, solitary, womb-like experience about what Judaism meant to me. And because for me, like the connection between creative and the music and the sound is kind of how I engage with my sense of highest self. It's like it calls upon all of my skill sets, all of the things that I've learned, all the things that I've humbly feel like I've been blessed with, and sort of brings out my best individual execution skills, but for some sort of purpose or for some sort of heart, or to express a message, or to help elevate in a way and almost reimagine what Jewish music is. As I will talk with anyone who just scratches upon the subject, like Jewish music is never, it's not like we talk about like traditional Jewish music, or well, that means like 200 years, right, at most, right? Like the Sulzer or the Picks, like the Shema, like these are very recent melodies. These are not melodies that have been heard since the time of the first temple, right? So and as I understand it, like the our music, and I say our, just like the people of Israel, like our music has always been connected and influenced by the music that's around us, right? Mm-hmm. So I grew up in this kind of like folk rock, some combination of AC/DC, Police, and jazz, and like George Benson, and like like all of these like varied influences, and what does that mean? And so how do I as an individual engage with the prayers and like help, one, create music that I think is, an integrity and an expression of what I'm hearing. And like for me, it's like prayer. The prayer is ultimately, like, traditionally it started with sacrifices, right? Like to like literal sacrifices of animals. And it's like that's that life death, connection, or like art, that the individual human being's connection to God is like that we're somehow drawing ourselves closer to that. And then eventually I'll get back to whatever the question was, I promise. And so for now, like, so now music is like this sort of ultimate expression. How do we, like, not narrow the gap, because that doesn't quite figure it, because it's Judaism and it's all sorts of paradoxes or whatever you want to call about it. But like, what is the prayer offering? How can that be, something in integrity and in purpose, and then uses the skill sets that I have. And I also use like the prayers themselves. It's like for me a way, because I didn't grow up with it, it's a way for me to learn. Like it's a way for me to focus my attention on, say, like, what does this mean? And then, like, just the way I do that best is through creating music. And like that's just like that's my jam. That's my happy place. So that's kind of, those are all the things that infuse it. And so now it's like, hopefully, it's just been a blessing. And I really meant it earlier. Like, this community has been so instrumental and supportive and graceful to allow me to try this stuff, sometimes trip over my own feet, but really just, receive it with such heart, the intent from which it comes. So thank you.
Was there a time
we are really,
when,
enriched, by all these amazing things you brought to the community. One of the things that I so admire about you, Bill, is your ability to bring in other people into your creations, right? That it's not just a singular action, but it's a sign of commitment to community, and that we really are greater when there's more than one person involved. So if our viewers haven't had a chance to check out the Thursday morning Minyan that Bill's just started a few weeks ago, yesterday was just the fourth one, I think, fifth one. We haven't had very many. It's beautiful. It's at 7 a.m.
So 7:30. So
7:30. Oh, much later. 7:30 a.m.
7 would be a little early. So we started at 7, right? So like all these pieces that I've been writing, sometimes for years, it feels very odd to share them. I'll be frank. Like, especially some of these recordings where I'm like, oh, that's not done. Like, right? And also, like, as you mentioned, like the ability, because we are socially isolated, the ability to start like integrating other people's voices, because if Janet Liss is watching, the temple has never sounded sweeter than when Janet Liss's celebratory service for honoring her 44 years of commitment to this community, right? And it was a packed house. And like there was just one piece, I don't remember what it was, but it was like hearing that voice, hearing that like Kol Yisrael was just like so, right? So now in a time where we can't have that, it's not a reality. It's now like giving me an opportunity to say, okay, I've got these pieces, I've been working on recording them, I frame them up in the studio. And then sometimes we'll record like other elements. And like, for example, Christo, who, speaking of Heartbeat, has recorded a lot of drum tracks and percussion tracks. And there'll be more and more and more, but like to have other community members like doing the readings, in no small part because I'm tired of my own voice, one, but two, like to like, so that people have, like this, it's a true minyan, right? So even if we only have, 8 people on the Zoom call, but we've got 10 on Facebook, and I leave it up until about 12ish. I try and kind of give it its own space. So it's Thursday morning, and it's on Facebook Live anytime Thursday morning.
Yeah, it's really great. People should definitely check it out. You can be in your pajamas. And,
yes, exactly right. The first prayer is Modeh Ani, which is intended to be said upon when you first wake up in bed.
Yes.
Was the Jewish aspect always an inspiration to your music, or was there sort of a period of time where you were just musical and then there was some sort of some sort of moment where you felt almost compelled to combine the two?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So, I've always done some combination of writing songs for sure. Like I think, in addition to my family and whatever career contributions I can offer, like those are the pieces that are essentially like a part of what I consider to be my legacy. Like songwriting is like something that is like a big like piece, and so it's certainly like I wrote a song that I sang for Christina at our wedding, and like at each of our kids' b'nai mitzvot, like I've written a song and shared it with them. So it's kind of but it's I think it just started on writing a song about whatever I was going through. The aspect of doing it in the context of a prayer service or like in the Jewish context provides an even for me the highest level challenge, because it has to be there's a context I'm trying to maintain, right, where we're looking at not just like creating something beautiful, but creating something beautiful that will facilitate somebody's connection with whatever they mean when they say God or the Most High, right? And so like there's a sense of restraint, which I'm not sure I successfully navigate, but like that's my intent at least. And so that's where that element becomes really, really interesting and probably the most challenging. And so that's has just kind of fueled and allowed me again to just keep doing this what I view as purposeful work.
So great. Do we have the next Kol HaShabbat? Do we have that scheduled?
Okay.
Is this what you're working on?
So Kol HaShabbat, right? So the things that are part of the Thursday morning minyan are intended to be the best I think we can do as a Kol HaShabbat. So for example, you'll like, and it was for the last service where we saw some video of Ruth adding percussion. So we have I'm working on socially distanced recording. So if I literally had a friend come over who is a congregant, and we ran microphones out my window and set that up, and then had some recording, or people are recording it on their phone. It's just a matter of, it's hard to make time to do it, right? So like what I'm doing is giving people like a core aspect of a recorded framework, and then they sing over that, and then I add just the layer of their voice. They're listening in headphones, and then they're singing into their phone. So then I take that and then record that and layer that in. So for Kol HaShabbat, I think that's the best that we're going to do. And then at some point, if we want to do more, we can. But for this Saturday, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Havdalah, right?
Saturday,
So there's a piece that we did for Kol HaShabbat Genesis, and as you can tell, my sense of pride is commemorated in my wall here. This is Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy from the previous Kol HaShabbats. Those are the cover art. So it's very much alive, and there are pieces that are infused by Noach that we'll be sharing. Some of it'll be recorded, some of it'll be live. And then also there's an Aleinu, which is a really powerful percussive framework that Christo helped create. So
nice.
We're doing it in our best way possible.
I like that you also put the covers up from right to left. So
yes, exactly. Exactly.
Very, very intentional. Well done. So.
Thank you.
Is Sharon? I know typically we do have some questions from our viewers. Is there anybody who has anything?
It's more just shout outs. You've got Ruth Cooperman says she also really loves the way that you include others as part of the creative process. I just lost this one. Where did it go? A friend of yours, let's see. Is it Miller? JD Miller? Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yes, he's watching. He says you're a rock star.
Oh.
And you've got just some other fans out there, like your wife and my husband. You got some other fans out there who are singing your praises. Bill,
Um,
a lot of people have gotten to know you over all these years. Is there anything about you that perhaps people just don't know that they would be surprised to know about you? Maybe an interest or something some adventure that you've had in the past?
well, I think I already said I'm an AC/DC fan. That seems to freak people out. I'm not sure why. And I also mentioned that I wanted to be a rabbi. That was a late early 20s kind of quintessential moment. My mom and my grandmother, having lived the life of a rabbi, have and I know you don't experience anything like that at Temple Israel. It would be like sort of cultural, political, spiritual.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Exactly. So those are the things that immediately come to mind. Um, I don't know. I got to hug Dolly Parton once. I mean,
Oh, that's cool. She
There's a
has
great special.
a new
There's a
movie,
great
right?
Netflix special on Dolly Parton, or is it Amazon Prime? I don't know. There's a great new documentary about
yes,
Dolly.
yes, she's a remarkable woman.
Bill, your comment about wanting to become a rabbi makes me think of, I can think of at least two other people off the top of my head that are congregants who also have said over the years that they have considered being a rabbi. It would be an interesting group to get together and have a conversation. But, all those people really, including yourself, have really figured out a way to bring Judaism and community into their lives, even if it wasn't as a profession, but
Yeah.
as a true passion. And really, the professionals couldn't do it without lay leaders like yourself, right? We
Right.
need those
Like
people
think
with
of
the passion and the education.
exactly. Think of Alan Lillian's contributions to this
Hmm.
community, right? I
Yeah,
mean, to chairing the digital engagement committee and
right.
all of his work, truly.
Yeah.
And leading the men's minyan
Yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah, so what a combination, right, of sort of the Jewish aspects, and just the pure community aspects and doing things for the communities. Yeah, really fortunate. I too had considered being a rabbi first. That's true.
Another one.
Would have been great.
Um,
You got
Here I am,
kind of close, Eric.
yeah, now it's like I'm in the building, but but different responsibilities. So I'm happy with my choice to go to business school instead. I also get a share in this, so that's nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Bill, I know you've watched the show before.
Oh, wait, hold on, Eric. Hold on. There are a couple of questions. I see that. One's Bobby Horowitz is watching, and she wants to know if you ever considered being a cantor.
Yeah, except that I don't really consider myself a very good singer. And so to think of leading, like it's a very humbling experience, frankly, singing in front of a congregation. I remember it was when we were moving out of the building, and it was a Shabbat at the J, and I was a wreck. I was a wreck. And I remember Fred Kogan came up to me afterward. He's like, "So you're kind of anxious, huh?" So it's intense. For me, singing is something I like to do, but it's hard because it's by its nature, you're drawing attention to yourself, and then at the same time leading others and doing it with the most intimate instrument possible. And I just don't think I'm that good. So I sing with the guitar, like that's. So. But yes, I was thinking about it for a bit.
Very nice. Kendra Cokert's watching, and she also talking about what a joy it is to create music with you. And
Yay! Her contributions and expression of the "Who is like you, Micha Mocha" prayer is always a huge aspect of Kol HaShabbat, and we're working on layering in vocals on that as well. And that piece is very much about like that stepping into the unknown, like where there's a path that isn't in front of you, and yet we still have to take the next step. And this is kind of very much like where we are in our world today, is that like there are a lot of uncertainties, there's a lot going on around us. So to step into that unknown and have a path unfold is a sort of foundational aspect of what our prayer cycle reminds us of, and so that's um, thank you, thank you.
I love that melody too. I love that one. Shout out to you,
It just-
Kendra.
It makes me think of really all the musical talent that we have in our congregation, and
So
actually
good.
how giving all of their musicians are, and how participatory, and how they're so willing to share and offer and inspire our congregation with their gifts. I really think we are lucky, and I always try to think of new ways that we can involve
Yes.
you and others in terms of in what we're doing. It's
And I will
always
say, I saw Paul Levitt on the stream earlier today. I'm not sure if he's still on, but his percussion is just phenomenal. I'm hoping he'll come tomorrow. Is it 7:30 Saturday?
7:30 for Havdalah. Yep.
Okay, hopefully he'll come, because we're going to be doing a little bit of drumming around Noah, and so it'd be great to have Paul. Paul is, speaking of not only a talented musician but an amazing contributor who dedicates his incredible sound library, I would call it, of equipment that helps capture and share. I cannot emphasize enough how central that is to not only those who are making the offering, but those who are receiving it. That it allows the prayer offerers to just focus exclusively on what they're doing, and he just navigates all of the engineering aspects and the levels adjustments to really help present and create a sacred space. So I'm always just so grateful for all that he does, and a big shout out to him.
I know I had the pleasure of working with Paul for the High Holidays, and we essentially, with his guidance, created a TV studio in our sanctuary, and we had a whole structure set up, and he and I were distanced, but manning the services and the live streams and the recorded elements and.
Do you remember who created the framework where we had images, text, and sort of either text or transliteration of the prayer going on concurrently? How did all of that come about?
So I think the cantor was really the lead on that, in terms of visualizing that, in terms of how to present the service. I think and her speaking with her colleagues, and then we had a very talented editing team. Sushila Love, I think, was able to put together, and then one of our quartet members was able to do the music combining, and then hours and hours of recording things and getting the right tracks and labeling the right tracks and making sure everything worked together with the video. It was an amazing, and the fact that it all came together in just a couple of months. I mean, really, you consider how long it takes to get a movie production created that's an hour and a half, and we did 4 of them, right? So it's really a credit to the whole team that was really involved in putting it together.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know we are running out of time, but I do, with one quick question, if you can answer this really quickly, Bill, from Harriet Ellis, who is also a regular viewer of Anything Goes and one of our matriarchs and favorite people in our community. Harriet wants to know about whether or not you studied music formally anywhere. Or
Yeah, I did. I studied it. I took guitar lessons since I was 10 years old. I studied at Pierce College for about a year and a half with some amazing professors, learned music theory, composition, as well as just hyper-technical guitar work. Transferred to Oberlin College, which is probably the top 3 conservatories in the country, in addition to a great liberal arts school. I graduated in the liberal arts school, but took a lot of classes and had a lot of music creating opportunities at Oberlin. So to be in that environment as well, it was great. It was great.
That's really amazing.
Yeah.
Where in the valley did you grow up?
Temple Soleil. So I grew up like Woodland Hills, now Calabasas.
Okay, because I grew up in Woodland Hills, and our family went to VDS growing up. So
Yeah. That's our Aunt Sally and Uncle Bob's show.
Valley Boys. So, so as Sharon had mentioned, we are approaching the end of our hour of our show. Well, thank you, amazing, great to have you on and be part of us. We end each show, and you said you've seen the shows before. I have a series of questions inspired by James Lipton from the Actors Studio.
Okay. I've not prepared for these questions.
Good. So hopefully you didn't focus on these when you were watching our previous episodes. No, nothing pre-thought about. Whatever comes off the top of your head, let it rip, okay? So the first question is, what is your favorite word?
Oh, impeccable.
I like that word.
What is your least favorite word?
I can't say that. It begins with an N.
Okay.
What noise or sound do you love?
Guitar.
And then what sound or noise do you hate?
Pain.
You're such a nice guy, I won't ask you what your favorite curse word is. That's one that's on James Lipton's list, but I never asked that one. So.
Good decision.
It's a family show.
Okay, but the next question is, what profession other than the one that you do would you like to attempt?
I'd say a primary wealth generator. Just put it that way.
And then what profession would you absolutely not like to do?
Not like to do. I don't know. I'm painfully able to process whatever toxicity comes my way and make it tolerable. So I'm gonna pass on that one. That's the hardest question you've given me. Thank you.
All right. The last question is: if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Amen.
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 Amen. Well, amen is a great way to end this this show and this interview, and amen to sort of all of us, and to you and to this community, and let's all go from strength to strength, moving forward, and as we head into Shabbat very shortly, it was such a pleasure talking to you and hearing what inspires you and the gifts that you are then able to share to this community. So it's really been a pleasure.
Thank you
so much, Bill. And if our viewers want to see more of Bill and be able to experience Havdalah with him, please join us tomorrow night at 7:30. It is we're really looking forward to celebrating Havdalah with Bill and maybe some of his family members. And then tonight we've got our Shabbat prelude at 5:40, followed by Shabbat services at 6 o'clock. And I know we'll be talking about learning a little bit about Parshat Noach as we enter into Shabbat this week. So again, thank you all for joining us. Oh, there's the Teva right there, the ark right there, 2 by 2. Very good. Well, that reminds me of my challah, my rainbow challah I got to get to.
So much to do.
So much to do. So many Jewish things to do. Yes. Very good. Well, Shabbat Shalom to everyone. And thank you again, Bill. Thanks to your family for sharing you with us for this hour. And we will see you all very soon.
Thanks for joining us. Shabbat Shalom,
Shabbat
everyone.
Shalom.